Hey, what is going on YouTube? East Tactics here, and I'm finally back with another video. Today, I wanted to basically showcase the differences between running your classic differential fluid like 200,000 CSTs, which I'm currently running, or maybe even your 500,000 CST, and jumping all the way to silicone earplugs inside your center differential. I've been really curious for a long time to see exactly what this does to the vehicle, how it impacts the performance, and just how it feels. One of the things that I have noticed, is that the heavier vehicles tend to get the thicker fluids in the center differential, right? And so when I got my Arrma Kraton from factory, it only weighed about 12 pounds. And so now, after throwing on huge tires, doing all the different upgrades, my vehicle weighs 3.5 pounds more than it used to weigh from stock. It puts a lot of pressure on the stock motor and the stock ESC. You might experience cogging with the stock ESC, especially if you're running too high of a pinion. And so now that I've added so much weight to my vehicle, my vehicle started cogging again. Even when it comes to the shocks are designed to mitigate that much weight, 12 pounds. My vehicle is almost like 16 pounds now. And so, I had to go in and add a lot more heavy duty shock springs to the vehicle. If you're interested in knowing exactly what I've done to my vehicle as far as the shock springs, check out the playlist for the shock springs experiment. Those of you that participated in the giveaway for the dual shock springs experiment, who sent me videos showcasing different drop heights for their current loadouts. So aside from the dual shock springs experiment, I'm finding that while I'm running the stock motor and the stock ESC, that with this weight, the center differential kind of is needing a lot heavier of a diff fluid, and so I want to run silicone earplugs. And I'm really curious if it's gonna add to the performance and to something that I like. One of the things that I've noticed that I don't like about these tires, because they're not belted, is that they balloon quite a bit. And so one of the things that I've heard from adding a thicker differential fluid, such as silicone earplugs, is that it more spreads the power between all four of the tires evenly. And I'm hoping that it's going to get rid of some of the ballooning, at least spread the ballooning out at least more evenly around the vehicle, instead of it being so much front centered or front focused. And so we're going to test to see the difference there. And I'm really curious to see how well it's going to perform. Maybe it will get rid of some of the cogging because of the way that the innards are working with the motor. I'm hoping that maybe throwing in the silicone earplugs is going to sort of mitigate a little bit of the cogging. And so that's what this video is all about. I'm going to take it apart and I'm going to throw in the silicone earplugs. I'll probably put it on like a speed video. The other thing that I'm going to do during the process of switching this out, because I have to go in and open up the center differential, I've got to clean out all of the diff fluid inside of my diff. I'm going to be showing you guys something, and I'll probably show the results in a separate video, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up really quick here. So subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, just to kind of get the updates on what I'm going to be doing here. So basically, this is the product that I've always used whenever I've cleaned out the diff fluid inside of my differentials. It works really well. You kind of throw all of your components into the jar, you swish it around, and the diff fluid seems to break down really well with this QD electric cleaner. Now, the brake cleaner is another product that people seem to like for this type of thing, kind of degreasing the parts and getting the diff fluid off. And so we're going to run an experiment between the brake cleaner, QD cleaner, which I already know works really well, and I'm excited to announce that somebody actually sent me a product that they wanted me to test, and I got sent a box from a company called Super Clean. We'll test it out and see if this stuff breaks down the differential fluid, better or as well as this QD cleaner, which I've come to like. And yeah, super grease cleaning is not something that we'll just use for RC stuff. We'll use it all around our house, so I'm happy to test it out. So anyway, let me get into it and start ripping this thing apart and get that silicone earplug in the center diff. got my center differential all cleaned up. Check out this video if you want to get the details on that little head-to-head competition between what works best for cleaning up all this stuff. So today I was able to go in and reinstall the center differential with the silicone diff fluid or the silicone earplugs, and I was also able to take my tray out and replace my old receiver box with a larger receiver box in preparation for installing the external BEC. And I'm going to be dropping a video to show you guys the distinct difference between the power provided to a servo that's compatible with 6 volts and 7.4 volts and currently running at 6 volts. What a servo can do when it actually jumps to 7.4 volts. And we'll see if we can't come up with some clever tests that kind of showcase the actual difference and basically convince those people that have the V4 Kraton and the BLX 185 and the stock components that they really do need to take advantage of an external BEC to really throw power toward these tires, whether they're the big tires or your stock tires. It's going to be, I think, a drastic difference. 6 volts versus 7.4 volts. I'll show that right here. All right, so I've got the batteries fully charged. I've got the center differential reinstalled, and the center diff has silicone earplugs in the center. Now, let's get it out there and see if she runs any differently, see how it feels. More particularly, super curious to see if the front end ballooning has been affected. Really hoping that the power is more dispersed throughout all 4 tires instead of the focus being on the front end. And we can also test to see if the cogging is still existent, or if that's just going to require, you know, basically a motor with more torque and an ESC that's capable of running that motor, since my vehicle weighs a lot more than stock nowadays. That will probably be the case if the cogging isn't gone. So, but let's check out the front end and see if it's ballooning. All right, now let it be noted that the passes that I did previously, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna run it at the same speed. It's gonna zip right by the camera. Here's some footage of the before. And as you can see, a ton of front end ballooning. Now these tires, they balloon because they're not belted, but the fact that there's that much ballooning in the front end to me is a big issue, and it just made it to where I wasn't enjoying it. So windy. so there is definitely a ton of improvement. Way less ballooning. I cannot say enough. All right, again, I cannot believe how much better that is. Putting silicone earplugs in the center differential totally got rid of the ballooning. Like, I mean, there's still some ballooning, but nowhere near as bad as it was. So if you guys are experiencing some major front end ballooning, then I highly recommend putting silicone earplugs in the center differential. The cogging is definitely not better. It's the exact same. And again, that is 100% attributed to the fact that I've added 3.5 pounds to my vehicle and I'm running a 16 tooth pinion. The motor and the ESC are just not compatible with this much weight and trying to provide that much of a quick burst of torque. So if you want to be able to do like more of your standing backflips, which again, those are not that great on your differentials, so I don't recommend doing them. But if you want to have that sort of like immediate burst of power without the cogging, then you're going to want to upgrade your motor and your ESC to something that can handle it. Like a motor that is anywhere from 1600 to like 1800 kV and like max 6 ESC or something that of the equivalent. The other nice thing about upgrading your motor and your ESC is you're going to be able to pump 7.4 volts to your servo and not have to worry about installing any kind of a external BEC to get your servo to power your tires to the level that these vehicles need. So I did notice though that it was much easier for me to put this thing on its back. The power is much more immediate if it's not being stunted by the cogging. And so actually what I'm going to try now before I end this video is I'm going to go in and I'm going to actually drop my pinion back down to the stock pinion, which is I think 13T. So that's 3 teeth down. If my cogging goes away, I don't care if my vehicle's 10 miles slower. I would much rather not have cogging. So I'm going to drop it down to, I'll let you know, I think it's 13. I might even have a 15T pinion. Right now I'm running 16 though, and if I'm going to get rid of cogging, I honestly feel like I should go even more than 1 tooth. Anyway, that's enough waffling. I'm going to go in and add that pinion, and then we'll do another run and see if the cogging is any better. I'm able to keep these 16-inch zip ties on. If you guys are wondering why I have these zip ties, watch this video. Massive protection for your body, these zip ties. So anyway, I'm able to basically just pop these off. They'll be able to pop right back on, basically by slipping it on like this, and then reattaching. Anyway, I actually did go in, was able to take my Allen wrench from the side here, and I pulled out my 16 tooth pinion. 16, right? So we're gonna drop this down to, I mean, you know what? I'm gonna just drop it down to the 13 tooth pinion because I really want to like maximize my chances of getting rid of this cogging issue. All right, this little thing, oh my gosh, it's tiny. All right. Here is the stock pinion. Here's the 16 tooth pinion that I just took off. And then right here is the 15 tooth. That basically is the speed pinion. So the question is, should I do the 15? Think I'm gonna get rid of the cogging? I don't know, man. I might as well try it. And then if I don't, I'll drop to the 13. Okay. So I'll try 15, and if that doesn't work, I'll drop to 13. All right, now we got it down to a 15 tooth pinion, and let's see if the cogging is better. All right, so it definitely is still cogging at 15T, so let's drop it down to 13 and see what happens. Should be a dramatic difference when I drop down to a 13 tooth pinion. All right, now let's reset the mesh. Well, it looks like for the time being, I'm going to be running my RC at 13 tooth until I can get myself a motor that's more compatible with high torque, heavy tires, heavy upgrades. A lot of people will run the lower KV motors and then they'll increase the size of the pinion dramatically to make up for the loss of KV, or rotations, if you will. And when they put the larger pinions in, they kind of recoup that speed again, but the motor is capable of handling that pinion. All right, I'm really hoping that cogging is gone, because I would much rather have a 13 tooth pinion and no cogging than a 15 or 16 tooth pinion and experiencing the cogging issue. Didn't cog. It's back. It's not cogging, and I could do a freaking standing backflip like there's no tomorrow. Oh my god. There it is. Levi, look. Look.
Holy!